In this lesson, I'm going to be going over the basics of an HTML tag, an element. An HTML tag is the most basic thing you will deal with when writing HTML. You'll be doing it all the time, editing, managing, creating, whatever you're doing with HTML, you will be dealing with HTML tags and elements. So I have here, as an example, just a whole mesh of text here. And although I'm going to be showing you different types of tags in this lesson, we'll be going over things like p tags and h1 tags and things like that in another lesson. But in this one, I just want to kind of show you the basics of the tag and how it's applied. One thing I want to point out first is that in HTML, the browser doesn't see white space. And what I mean by white space is outside a tag, an element, you can hit enter as many times as you want and put a tag over here, way tabbed over here, and the browser's not going to see that. There's some white space you have to work with. So for instance, let me open up a preview here. One of the nice things with TextMate is I can go to Window, Show Web Preview, and here's a nice window here of what it looks like in the browser. So watch what happens when I hit enter here. You notice nothing happens over here. Or if I hit enter here, nothing happens. It's because the browser doesn't see this white space, this empty space. So it's not like in Microsoft Word where it does render that space. So let's get into a tag, and then I think you'll see more what I mean by the white space. The basics of a tag are what's called the opening and closing portions of it. So I'm going to put two little carets or chevrons like that. And inside this is what is called the HTML element. So if I hit for instance H1 and put an H1 there, well, notice it got really big on the left. We'll find out why in the lessons coming. But H1 is an HTML element or an HTML tag. And so this is the starting or opening statement here. We're telling the browser, hey, whatever's after this is an H1. And so how do we tell the browser that, okay, no more H1, it's done, after this mark, it's something else? Well, what we do is, and I'm going to go down here to the end, you do the same thing, you put the carets, but then you put a / and then the name of the element again. So, and you'll notice how it formatted here. So basically we're telling the browser, hey, this H1, it starts here and it ends here, and everything else is something different. And again, it looks the same, H1, H1, except the / tells the browser that is the ending part of it.
Just curious, Rick, for all those that are out here that have never worked with HTML, what does the H stand for in H1?
You could say semantically it stands for a heading. So you can have an H1 heading, and we'll get into formatting things on text later, but you could say H2, and this is heading 2, and it's sized a little bit different. Same thing, H3, heading 3. So, and it's actually very important for SEO reasons too. H1 and H2 tags, you're telling Google and other places that, hey, this is a heading, this is a title, this is important. And so moving on, like I said, with white space, you notice I have no white space here. So if I want to add some extra room here to make it readable, it's not doing anything here, but it's making it look nice over here. Well, I'm going to go ahead and create another tag. It's called the P element right here. So I'm telling, again, I'm opening this P element right before all this text, and I need to tell it where to close, and I'm going to tell it to close right here. And I'll go ahead and do that again. Open it, close it, open it, and I'm going to close it. So the P tag stands for a paragraph. I'm just basically telling the browser, hey, this is a paragraph, this is a paragraph, this is a paragraph. So that is the basics of an HTML tag. There's also another thing in a tag, which is the attribute of a tag. So a lot of times you'll see like a P, and it might have a class. It might say class equals red, or style equals color green, or ID equals test, or whatever. These are called attributes of the P tag. They define the p tag in certain terms. So this is an attribute, and the value of this attribute in this case is red. This is an attribute style, and the value of style is color green. And we'll get into a lot of this stuff. This is actually CSS, which will be in another course. But we'll get into more of these attributes and values later. But I just want you to know when you see these things, that's what they are. They're attributes of this, and they do different things, especially in CSS. So one more thing before the lesson's over. This is a p tag that is closed here, but some HTML elements close on their own. They don't need to have things inside them. So for instance, a good example would be the image tag. An image tag, all an image tag does is tell the browser, hey, there's an image here. So an image tag always has an attribute called source. So in here is the file path of where that image is located. And we'll get into image tags in detail in another lesson. But the main thing I want to show you here is an image. You might think, oh, okay, I need to close the image like this. Oh, now it's closed. No, because there's nothing in here that the browser needs to see. All it needs to know is that this is an image, and where's the image at, because I want to put it on here somewhere. So to close this, all you have to do is put the / there. And now, lo and behold, this image tag is self-closing. This is the closing, and this is the opening. Different from the p tag, because inside the p tag we have text and things like that.